The doctor confirmed his death, but the transactions continued. At first, this detail did not appear in national headlines or official statements. It surfaced quietly in Telegram chat rooms, in online forums, and in private investor groups where anxious users of Quadrigacx CX were comparing withdrawal timestamps and blockchain records in January 2019. Something was wrong. Withdrawals had stalled. Accounts still displayed balances, but every request remained pending. Support replies grew slower. Explanation became vague, and then came the announcement that reframed everything. This video is made for educational purposes only. Trading and investing involve market risk. This channel will not be responsible for any profits or losses. Quadrigacx CX was Canada's largest cryptocurrency exchanges during the early boom of digital assets, allowing users to buy, sell, and store cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum at a time when the industry was still largely unregulated and rapidly expanding. Founded in 2013, the platform positions itself a gateway for everyday investors to enter the crypto market, processing billions of dollars in daily transactions and holding customer funds both in online hot wallets and offline cold wallets. For thousands of users, it was not just an advantage, but a trusted financial bridge between the traditional banking and the emerging world of decentralized digital currency. Gerald Cotten, founder and CEO of the exchange, had reportedly died in December 2018 while traveling in Jaipur. According to the company, Cotten had been the sole custodian of the private keys, controlling approximately 190 million Canadian dollars worth of cryptocurrency stored in cold wallets. Without those keys, the funds were inaccessible permanently. For many users, the explanation felt tragic but technically possible. In the years early of cryptocurrency, exchanges often evolved around a single founder. Security systems were improvised, oversight was minimal, regulation was inconsistent. The idea that one individual controlled access to vast digital fortunes did not immediately sound impossible. But one question refused to disappear. If the keys were locked, why were movements on the blockchain still being observed? And if the founder was gone, who exactly was moving the money? One investor refused to accept plausibility without verification, and that decision would unravel one of the most disturbing mysteries in cryptocurrency history. Zhong Zhou had nearly $400,000 trapped on the exchange. He approached the situation not emotionally but analytically. If Quadrigacx had 190 million in cold storage, those wallets should be visible on chain. Cryptocurrency do not vanish into abstraction. It resides at addresses that can be inspected publicly. Even if the keys were lost, the balances would remain visible. Zhou began reviewing wallets addresses historically associated with Quadrigacx. The balances did not match the claims. The supposed cold wallets were largely empty. This discovery fundamentally altered the narrative. The problem was no longer about a lost password, it was about the absence of reserves. Either the funds had been moved elsewhere before Cotten's death, or they had never existed in the quantities represented. Online forums intensified their analysis. Telegram groups grew louder. Screenshots circulated. Wallet clusters were mapped. The tone shifted from grief to suspicion. Trust no one. To understand how this discrepancy could remain hidden, one must revisit the years preceding the collapse. Before we move further, if you want to trade in crypto, the link to open your trading account is given in the description. If you use our link, you'll also get a 2000 worth Adhirah AI subscription absolutely free. To claim that, make sure you fill out the Google form link in the description. Don't skip this if you're serious about trading smarter. Quadrigacx was founded in 2013 during cryptocurrency's infrastructural adolescence. By 2017, Bitcoin's price acceleration transformed the exchange into a major Canadian gateway for retail investors. Deposits surged as Bitcoin approached $20,000. New users are entered daily, trading volumes increased. In bull markets, liquidity conceals structural weakness. Rising asset prices can compensate for internal deficits. New deposits can satisfy withdrawals. Operational shortcuts became survival. Internally, Quadrico reportedly lacked rigorous accounting system. Customers' funds were not strictly segregated. Multi-signature safeguards were minimal. Gerald Cotten maintained centralized control over wallet access. As long as the market rose, few demanded proof of reserves audits. Transparency was replaced by growth metrics. When Bitcoin declined in 2018, that insulation disappeared. In December 2018, Cotten traveled to India with his wife, Jennifer Robertson, for their honeymoon. According to official records, he was admitted to a private hospital in Jaipur and died on December 9 from complications related to Crohn's disease. A death certificate was issued. His body was repatriated to Canada and buried in Nova Scotia. Yet, irregularities emerged quickly. As his name was misspelled on the death certificate, no autopsy was conducted. The casket was closed. He had updated his will shortly before the trip. Properties had been transformed to Robert's name. Each detail, which was individually explainable, collectively fueled suspicion. Telegram discussions reframed the event as an exit scam executed in a distant jurisdiction. India, in this theory, provided geographic insulation. An independent investigator later traveled to Jaipur to verify the hospital account. Medical staff confirmed admission and death. Documentation existed. Yet, without exhuman in Canada, doubt lingered in online disclosure. The death was officially confirmed. The funds were still missing. Then came the name of his wife. Not once, not twice, but 3 different times. Online investigators began digging through public records and found a trail that at first glance felt unsettling. Jennifer Griffith, Jennifer Forgeron, and Jennifer Robertson. In a story already filled with frozen accounts and missing millions, 3 surnames sounded less like coincidence and more like calculation. Screenshots were shared like evidence and people began asking, why would someone change their name so many times? The tone online quickly shifted from curiosity to accusation. Some claimed it was identity manipulation, others suggested it was preparation, as if multiple names meant multiple exits. Social media turned hard. She was called a fraud, a mastermind, a hidden partner in the scandal. The anger escalated so quickly that she began refusing abuse and even death threats. But when the timeline was laid out clearly, the mystery looked very different. Jennifer Griffith was her original maiden name. In 2012, after her marriage, she began Jennifer Forgeron, common and legal change after marriage. Then in late 2016, she formally changed her name again. The change was officially announced in Nova Scotia's Royal Gazette. She moved from Jennifer Kathleen Margaret Griffith to Jennifer Kathleen Margaret Robertson, though she never legally took Gerald Cotten's last name, and her explanation was personal, not criminal. She said she disliked the surname Griffith. After her first divorce, she did not want to return to it. Instead, she chose Robertson, inspired by her father's middle name. Later, investigators revisited Quadrigacx's origin story. Cotten had co-founded the exchange with Michael Patton. It later emerged that Patton had previously operated under the name Omar Thanani and had convictions related to identity fraud in the United States. A domain registration record linked him to the early Quadriga infrastructure. Old photographs showed him beside Cotten, 2 contrasting personalities. Patton appearing assertive and commercially aggressive, Cotten reserved and technical. Speculation flourished. Some theorized Patton had influenced operational practices or trained Cotten in aggressive financial tactics. Yet documented timelines indicated Patton had exited the company years before its collapse. No direct evidence connected him to the 2018 event. One detail made the conspiracy theories even stronger. After Cotten's reported death, people noticed blockchain activity connected to the exchange. Media headlines quickly simplified it to one dramatic line: a dead CEO was still moving funds. That idea spread fast, but when experts looked at the technical side, the story became more complicated. Blockchain timestamps show when a transaction is confirmed, not necessarily when it was first started. Crypto exchanges also move money between their own wallets all the time. It's normal internal reshuffling. Some of the transactions people saw could have been transfers that were initiated early and only confirmed later. Mostly, there was no solid forensic proof that Cotten personally made trades or moved funds after December 9, but by then the damage was done. Even without a clear proof, the optics looked terrible, and in a crisis, bad optics can be just as powerful as bad facts. All of this confusion, the changing names, the blockchain activity after his death, the online accusations, kept the story spinning in circles. But the real turning point came later when the company entered bankruptcy. Ernst & Young was appointed as the independent monitor. Their job was simple: follow the money and tell the truth. What they found changed everything. Quadrigacx did not have proper internal accounting. Customers' funds were mixed together instead of being kept separate. The so-called cold wallets did not hold enough crypto to cover what customers were owed. It got worse. Gerald Cotten had transferred assets to external exchanges. He was using customer deposits to make speculative trades. Those trades lost money. As losses grew, new customers' deposits were used to pay old withdrawal requests. In simple terms, the system started to behave like a Ponzi scheme, even if it may not have started that way. Money coming in was being used to fill holes created earlier. And here's the most important part: the financial deficit exited before his death. By December 2018, Quadrigacx already appears to have been functionally insolvent, meaning it likely did not have enough real assets to pay back customers. The trip to Jaipur did not create the hole, it exposed it. When we step back and look at the full timeline, the picture becomes clearer. 2017, Bitcoin is booming, prices are exploding. Quadrigacx CX grows fast during the full bull market. Money is flowing in. Only few people ask hard questions. 2018, the crypto markets crashes. Prices fall, liquidity tightens, withdrawals become slower. December 2018, Gerald Cotten dies in India. A doctor confirms his death. January 2019, withdrawals stopped completely. 2019 onward, the forensic audit begins and the real problems comes into focus. Around 76,000 users were affected, but here's the key point. The exchange was already hollow before Cotten died. The investigation showed that there were no proper reserves. Customers' funds had been used for trading, losses had built up quietly over time. New deposits were covering old withdrawals requests. There wasn't enough real crypto sitting safely in cold storage. By late 2018, Quadrigacx was already in deep trouble. So, what actually happened? The most supported explanation today is this. Gerald Cotten was running the exchange without proper controls, without transparency, and without real reserves. Whether it began as international fraud or reckless mismanagement, the system depended on continuous growth. As long as new money kept coming in and prices stayed high, the gaps were hidden. When the market crashed in 2018, the weakness was exposed. And when Cotten died, suddenly and unexpectedly, there was no one else with full control. No clean accounting and no reserves left to save the company. The debt did not create the collapse, it removed the final layer of confidence. There are so many conspiracy theories behind it, but the simpler explanation is structural failure. Quadrigacx CX represents a major lesson from early crypto markets. Decentralized assets were being stored in centralized exchanges without proof of reserves. There was trust, but no transparency, growth, but no governance, confidence, but no verification. When trust disappeared, the system collapsed.